Okay.
Okay.
Rukmini Vijayakumar really doesn't need an introduction, but I wanted to read this one bit that I read about her. After watching a performance of Rukmini Vijayakumar for the Indo-American Arts Council, Alistair Macaulay, the dance critic of the New York Times, wrote, Rukmini has burning eyes that repeatedly catch the observer's breath, and she makes those eyes part of the fabric of the dance. In terms of gesture, switches of angle, and communicating swift changes of emotion, she's not just engaging, but also authoritative. Wow, we're going to talk to you about that craft a little later. And for those who don't know, apart from being a dancer choreographer, Rukmini is also the artistic director of the Raadha Kalpa Dance Company and also the director of Ishwa, a beautiful space for artists. Rukmini has performed across leading festivals and venues in the world and has a huge following on social media as well. And is also a movie actor. The latest film that I watched of you is, of course, Mani Ratnam's Kaatri Veliyadu. So, Rukmini, welcome. And I'm going to firstly start off by asking you about how lockdown life has been for you. I mean, has it changed in any way? Because we still see you doing yoga, sharing it with the world, being rigorous with your practice. So really, has it been any different at all?
I think that it's been different because I don't waste any time traveling, I guess, or in airports or flights. I can just dance. So it feels like the time before I started performing a lot, when I would just spend my whole day in the studio, take some breaks and do. Obviously, the practice has changed over the years. I spend a lot of time working creatively also now. And I used to work more with skill before. And but no, I don't think anything has changed much. Like if I had a holiday, this is what I would do. So
right. I mean, I keep
yeah, if I had 5 or 6 days off from travel, this is
right. I keep wondering, Rukmini, whether it's got to do with the fact that, in a sense, the life of a creative artist who's sort of engaged with their craft is pretty much, in a sense, there is a certain method to it, and lockdown or otherwise, it continues to kind of remain the same. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I guess so, because I think that it depends on the kind of craft you're in. When you're a solo performing artist, like, then I spend most of my time in solitude. So I rehearse alone, I create alone, I read alone, and I haven't had my teachers with me since 2002. So it's been 18 years. So I don't think that. So I've been alone in the studio for a really, really long time. I mean, I was in college. Oh, sorry, not 2006. 2006. Yeah, 2006. Yeah, 2006. So I was in college till 2008. So between 4 and 8, I did have teachers, but they weren't my Bharatanatyam teachers. So for Bharatanatyam, I've been by myself, and I think that even to create, I kind of need to switch off from my surroundings. I mean, many times I think when I'm walking or by myself or locked up in the room. So, yeah, I mean, away from my husband, who's the only other person in the house. But I think that it's, you become used to it. But if I were primarily a choreographer on my company, which is also something that I do, it would be difficult because I can't make on them, right? So I don't have dancers, I don't have bodies to create on. So I think we can't look at it at large. It just works for me because I am primarily a solo performing artist. But I don't think it necessarily works for all artistic activities. Maybe for painters or musicians in a way, but not necessarily for people who work. If I was a choreographer who primarily created on ensemble,
right?
It wouldn't.
But Rukmini, like, because you've always been a solo artist. in some sense, have you also been used to the idea of isolation in that sense? Like you're happy with the idea of solitude and just working on your own, right?
Yeah. I
Really?
flourish
Okay.
in that.
Like, I mean, what's your day like? Give us some kind of insights into what is a day like in the life of Rukmini.
Like I just say what I did today, because it changes a little bit. So today I woke up at 5 o'clock. I did some. For an hour I did my my co-work, and then after that I had a lecture that I attended. I mean, I watched like a philosophy lecture for an hour and a half, and then I went back to my strength training for about 2 hours. So I finished that. I did my strength training, and then in the afternoon today, sometimes I would have gone to the studio to dance after that if I was practicing or something. But these few days I've given to I'm working on writing something, so I worked on fixing it and rewriting and that kind of a thing. And then I went for I'm working on some choreography, so I did that for about 2 hours. I went for a run, and I went for 5 hours.
Well, this session is titled Dance as an Anchor. I'm curious about your relationship with dance and how, like, by virtue of sort of engaging with it for 18 years and also as a solo artist, how has that relationship really evolved? What is it that you find in dance? Like, what happens when you dance? Like, on a bad day, what happens when you dance? How does dance kind of help you cope?
I think that with dance or any art or anything that you're engaged in, for that matter, right? Like, it can be different things for different people. I could be engaged in writing, or I could be engaged in cooking, for that matter. It depends on what. This is my opinion. So I think that anything that can take your mind away from anything else and have your single pointed concentration and bring you to the present moment is something that can give you solace in a way. It may be temporary solace, but it can also help you take you away from a situation and give you perspective. And I think for me, that's dance. Because when I dance, I'm able to switch off from being me or Rukmini, or I don't need to I don't know, like for example, like now I came for a live session, I'm coming as Rukmini, right? I did my hair, I wore my earrings. I haven't worn earrings in a long time. I wore my earrings, I have some lipstick on. So it's, I made myself, because I'm presenting myself as Rukmini, I came here to be me. So, so that you think of me as presentable, or so that I am presentable. But when I'm dancing, I don't need to think of me. Does that make sense? I can be the dance, and I don't need to think of it helps me give perspective, because for that moment in time, nothing else matters except the rhythm and the music and my limbs and my arms, and I can switch off from the world for the time that I'm dancing. And it helps me in many ways. Let's say I'm having a bad day and I had a fight with my mom or something like that. Or I had a fight with my husband over who took out the trash. Something really simple, So by the time I'm done dancing, it seems so trivial. Like it gives me perspective. Like I'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe I made a mistake, and I can go and, we just resolve it faster. But then it helps me take myself out of emotion and make me think from outside.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But Rukmini, you're not just a solo artist. You're also, you are also the artistic director of the Raadha Kalpa Dance Company. So in a certain way, you have these two different roles as a creative artist and also to kind of make the whole company work, right? It's almost a sort of an entrepreneurial role that you have to sort of perform. So I'm curious about how you wear these two hats almost on an everyday basis at the same time.
Um, there, so there's the dance company, which is primarily which has my students. I used to work with freelance dancers a lot before, but over the last, it's almost been 3 years now. I've only been working with my own senior students in creating work. So the company fluctuates between my preference or my role as a teacher for my students, and because my students' welfare individually is very different from the welfare of the company, So because I always put their welfare first as my students, I always put the company as a second kind of, in some way, because I'm more interested in them being dancers than the company flourishing at this time, which was a little different when I used to work with freelance dancers, because then I was worried about the production and just the finishing of the production. But now it doesn't extend to the production. I also think about what are they going to learn from this, how I don't think about finishing things. I think about the process. We work on process a lot longer. There are 2 things that we worked on process for 6 months and we haven't made anything. So because I was thinking about them learning the process. So as far as a company is concerned, I think it's okay in the quarantine, because my students are flourishing. They're fine. I check on them and see if they're practicing and doing what they need to. Sometimes they send me videos. So that's okay. The dancers are fine in the company. As far as work is concerned, I know once things snap back, we'll have time to work in ensemble and I can make something. As far as the art space is concerned, that's a completely different role, because the art space doesn't have anything of my artistic thing, because the company is just an extension of my artistry, right? But the art space itself, we've tried to host different performances and bring artists, have lectures, have workshops, and that's been really hard, because we were supposed to have a workshop in 2 weeks' time, actually, with Sheila Khan, Rama Khan, and Kiran Subramaniam sir. And we can't have it because I spoke to the teachers, and then the general consensus was that nobody's comfortable teaching online because it's very difficult with dance. So we decided not to do it, and we're just going to postpone it to next year, because I think it just depends. I know many people do teach online and it is fine for them, but I think we have to understand the preference of each teacher, and I empathize with what each person perceives is the best way to give to a student, right? And so that didn't happen, and we're not able to have a performance series. So what I thought is that there are a lot of live performances happening, and I almost think there are too many in some ways, because they're, we don't even know what to watch anymore because there's so much going on. So I thought, so finally I feel like I wanted to have some conversations with some peers and some friends of mine. So we're doing that I'm going to do that from Monday. As part of Art Space, and we're just going to have 20-minute conversations on how their process is, and so I mean, it's different things. I don't know what else to do.
I mean, I'm really, that was actually my next question, Rukmini, about how do you think this lockdown's really sort of opened out this I don't know, this how do you think, like, how is it going to change the production and the consumption of the arts? Do you think there is going to be a significant shift?
Definitely, I think there will be. it's wrong to presume that we can just continue doing whatever we were doing before this. And it's fine. To be honest, yeah, I had a great run on stage. Let's see what's up now. Is the way I'm looking at it. I don't know. Yes, I love, as performers, we love being on stage. We love that audience connection. We love that there's a physical presence. And I had although I did the short performances with Aalaap also, and I did another one with another organization. I hadn't done a full performance, which I did 2 weeks ago. And I did a full performance of one of my productions online. And I decided to do one every month online until I can perform on stage again. And I thought about it. For me as a performer, I don't think anything much changed, other than the fact that I don't know, there are no people in front of me, right? But I don't, because I didn't change the performance for the camera, right? And I just performed it as I would on stage. In terms of the feeling of the performance, like what it does to me, I don't think anything changed for me. But I definitely think that it is different for an audience member, because I know that for me, when I watch someone online and then I watch them in person, it's completely different, because there are so many things that you miss out in terms of the space, the stage, or the nuance that you can't see in a video. Because it's not made for video. Video has a different purpose, right? It's made differently. Like to dance in film is completely different. So I am going to do that, but in terms of if it persists for more than a year, I think we have to creatively rethink what we perceive as being a dancer.
That's an interesting point.
Does being a dancer mean being on stage, or does it mean creating movement videos? Does it mean something else? Because the way we consume art is going to change if it persists, So, and I'm not sure how effective just a full-length performance as I would, because that's made for the stage. It's not made for a video. And although the response was great and a lot of people liked it and they messaged me, and obviously I felt happy that people connected to it, but I still wonder how different it would be if I were to make something for this kind of consumption. So there are also many good things that happen. Like I collaborated, like normally I wouldn't dance to like they'll say Rehman's song, they'll say, but when Daya messaged me and he was making something, it was his birthday. I was like, why not?
That was great actually. I watched it day before yesterday. Superb.
And it's so nice because artists are beginning to connect on a different level, and I'm not sure it would have happened if we weren't in lockdown. So there are good things coming of it, which it just depends on how we look at it.
Rukmini, but I've always like like I've followed your career, artistic career. I follow you on Instagram. I've always sort of seen you as somebody who is always like thinking a little ahead of her times in terms of the way you want to connect with your audience. And I feel like even the Raadha Kalpa dance method that you've launched online, for example, is definitely a step in the direction that we're all right now like maniacally sort of headed towards, to like how can we make, how can we reach out, like this whole online teaching. You kind of conceived this almost 3 months ago, if I'm not mistaken, or 6 months ago. Last year, when we met. So could you talk about like what triggered that decision, and how is the response to learning that methodology online? How has it been?
I think that there are several things. First thing is, when I was young and I lost my teachers very young, I was really looking for places to learn. But I was already very set in a particular ideology, in a particular format. I'd been choreographing already for like several years before my teachers passed away. So I wanted to learn and I wanted to correct, and I needed instruction. But uh, in the old school system, it was very difficult to find teachers who would be open, or maybe I didn't know of them at that time, you know. So there were a lot of things that I had to figure out on my own, like in terms of my hand or my movement. I would constantly watch my videos when they came after the performance and correct it, get a mirror and check, and you know. So and there was a time when I attended small workshops with. I think I was 14 or 13 or 14 when I attended Priyaka's workshop, CVC Mama's workshop, Savitri Jagannath's workshop, and Kalanidhi Mama's workshop. There were so many of them that did short workshops, and I know the wealth of learning that I got when I was 14. Also because I was like hungry. I was really, really hungry, and I was like a grabby little child. So I think that I can't say how much value I place on that learning, you know, because they may have been just 3 days or 4 days or a week, but on an impressionable mind that makes a big difference, right? So it wasn't just that, but there was learning that I got from Alexander technique and from yoga and from ballet and my modern teachers and all my dance teachers that I've had who are not my Bharatanatyam teachers, you know. They taught me about my body, about movement, about aesthetics and space and choreography and intention, physical intention. There's so many other things that didn't necessarily come from my Bharatanatyam lineage, but from different lineages, right? So, and when I teach these, and now it's taken me a long time to put all of this together and apply everything that I learned from everywhere else to my Bharatanatyam practice. And that takes a very long time to put it together cohesively, you know, like in a logical way. And when I began teaching in person, and then when I started doing workshops, I started learning more about this myself. And when I did workshops, the main complaint is, how do we continue? How can we do this again? And then you leave, and then we want to practice it, and we want to do it. And the last 4 years, I've been teaching like all over the world in so many different places, so many students. And yes, a lot of workshops, people just like to learn items. I'm not denying that. But out of 20 students, even if there are 3 who can take the essence of what I'm trying to say, even if it's through a repertoire piece, I think that makes a lot of difference to me, because I know that it made a difference to me when I was a kid. And if something like this was there for me to continue on that, it would have saved me years of struggle alone. So I think it came from that place, because I was totally against online learning. And I was like, no, people practice nonsense, you learn rubbish, and it doesn't. So I've tried to make it really slow. It is not structured towards learning repertoire. So it goes from tattadavu and like you do tattadavu, every tattadavu for like 3 minutes each. So by the time, even if I do the audio, I'm also sore. So same level that I would practice too, you know. So it is demanding, but it works on basics, and it works very analytically. So I've just, like, the program started in January, so it's January, February, March, April. We've not done any repertoire yet, and I introduce like they've gone through talam, ideas of talam, what is Adi talam, what are the different talas. Then I introduce korves, how to put the talam to simple korves, the logic of breaking down rhythm. Then the body awareness is also done the same way. Because then I call it the Raadha Kalpa method, because they're things that I put together, because I've analyzed and said, these are the bends we use, these are the muscles we use, these are the exercises we need to do these bends. If you can't do this in the second natya, we'll go back into this exercise, sure this happens for you, or this. So there's a very systematic progression bodily, as well as in terms of skill and learning technique. So that's why I did it. because I don't know, like a lot of people asked, and
yeah, lovely.
yeah.
Also, Rukmini, just on Mother's Day, that's last Sunday. I think you also your one of your
Yeah.
productions, Aalaap, was also live streamed, right? And what sort of prompted that
Yeah.
decision to kind of like share it with to sort of also, because it's also a film that's I mean it's a production that's based on the theme of like motherhood, right?
On,
So yeah,
on Mother. So I have 3 productions that I'm performing now. One is Talatya, the other one's Abhimata, and the third one's Shiva on Shiva and Parvati and their relationship. I haven't even named that one yet, but I mean it's very well rehearsed and ready to perform. So in quarantine now, I'm not going to sit quiet. I'm working on Sita. So by the time
yeah,
it's done, I'll have 3 other productions that are there and that I want to perform. I'm not even including my Unrequited, which is my solo in on Shiva and Parvati, which is a contemporary one. So definitely Unrequited I can't do online because I need technical support and all that. It's a bit contemporary. But the other 3, I figured I might as well do them one by one. So I performed it. It was live streamed. So yeah, I don't know. I figured I'd do one
lovely,
performance a month.
super.
Yeah. So I'm doing Talatya last month. Next month I'll do Abhimata. And the following month I'll do the one on
Superb. Looking forward to that, Rukmini. Just one last thing, before I throw it open to questions, is that I'm sure there are many young dancers watching or who will watch it later. What is it that, and I know that you're a huge role model for young dancers as well. Could you talk about, just one important sort of takeaway that they need to, remember just about the craft and sort of not kind of losing hope, because the dance world is a very, very tough world to navigate. So just something for young people, especially in these uncertain times?
I think the most important thing is to love the art within you, you know. And it's not important, and think of everything else as a fallout, like whether it's a performance or a review or a collaboration or an interview or anything else. It's important that you learn and you practice and you do things because you want to dance. Very often our entire setup is based on a performance. Then what happens if you don't have a performance? Does your entire art fall apart?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
impossible to do that. I mean, you'll be so depressed. So I think I learned very early on not to base my happiness on the outcome of dance, which
That's
is
fabulous.
performance.
Yeah.
So I think I dance the same, whether the same amount, I create the same amount, whether I have a performance or I don't have a performance. And that's been the same for me for a long time now. Because otherwise we're like on a roller coaster as performers. Even outside of quarantine,
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, even outside of quarantine, when as performers we don't control when we perform. Other people invite us, and we don't decide. Oh, I want 20 performances this month. I want 5 next month. That's not in our control, So the only thing we can control is our skill, our ability to dance well, our ability to practice well, to know that we are dancing better today than we were yesterday. These things are in our control. So how can we base our happiness on something that's not in our control?
Sure.
Then we'll always be unhappy. If we're not unhappy today, we're going to be unhappy tomorrow or at some point. So I think that it's important to, yes, you can work to a performance. You can say, okay, I'm working towards having the performance, but don't be sad if they say, hey, the performance is cancelled because so and so dignitary didn't show up, and they didn't, and this has happened. Like, I have 10 dancers rehearsing, and then so and so dignitary is not showing up, so we decided not to do it. I'm like, we rehearsed for 1.5 months.
Chief guest.
what can you do? Yeah, it's not enough. I think that when you decide that you love to dance,
Sure.
love to
Yeah.
dance, you know. So then you'll be fine. Then quarantine is
Right.
no problem. Financially,
Yeah,
yes,
of
but
course. Yeah.
otherwise,
We'll have another discussion on that. I think there is one question right now, and
yeah.
and people can start asking questions because we have literally like 5 minutes. Someone is asking
Sure.
me, Rukmini, are you having students from around the world now? I see I see primary ballet dancers like Tyler Peck collaborating with other dancers, with kids, etc. Are you thinking about something like that?
No, I don't think it's possible for me to um, teach online. I'm a very, I don't know if you talk to any of my students, I'm a very hands-on, very picky teacher. So I'm very concerned about small things, your shoulder, your thing, your neck, your head, your eye. I'm really, really picky. And I think it would drive me nuts if I
Yeah.
had to teach online, like live. Especially, I can manage some of my own students because
Yeah.
they understand what I'm saying and they've been used to me yelling in class for like 5, 6 years. So they are fine because I can just be like your right hip, your left arm, oh, your right fingertip, and
Yeah.
they'll get what I'm saying. But if
Yeah.
it's a new student, I'm
Yeah.
very, I don't think I can do it online unless I just broadcast a thing and people can follow, which means that I don't really care or know
Right.
what they are doing.
Chandana wants to know, like, obviously, I'm not going to address the first part of the question. Do you have days when you get bored of dance?
Mm, no,
No?
no. I can be tired, like physically tired.
Right.
And then I need to sit, like, because I can't
Right.
move anymore.
Of
My
course.
legs are pain, like my butt is really sore now. But usually, even if it's sore, if I'm once I
Okay.
start dancing, I'll be happy. But
You don't
yeah,
get
I
bored.
don't get
Okay.
bored. I can get
Yeah.
creatively
Yeah.
saturated,
For sure. Yeah. Bored. Okay.
but I'm not bored.
So Rizala Stephen wants to know, there have been so many unusual, she's the editor of the Hindu Weekend. She wants to know, there have been so many unusual dance initiatives online with dancers, doctors, recently with ophthalmologists. What stood out for you, Rukmini? Is there anything that you'd like to kind of like point us in the direction of something that we should go look out for?
I think everything that I was very excited was about were these performances that were online that I couldn't watch or that I didn't get to watch because I was performing myself somewhere else. Or so I watched all of
Right.
those. So they're all not online
Oh,
anymore. So I can't direct you towards anything because there were several of NDT that they put up for a week, for a couple of weeks, and NDT is my absolute
right.
favorite dance company. And then there was some things that Shobana
Yeah.
Jai Singh put up. There was another one of Malavika Akka, which is
Tonight.
coming
Yeah.
tonight in like at 11:30. Yeah, which I want to watch. Um, there was something else. I wrote it down in my book. I can't remember in a couple of days' time. So I think there are a lot of performances that I yeah I'm excited
Right.
to watch online, which I don't have the
Right.
opportunity of watching.
Rukmini, Jyoti Kalapkar says, if you had not studied dance, what would you have been? If you were not a dancer, what would you have been?
Oh, I don't know. I have so many
Really?
options.
Tell us.
I always think about this. Like, what would I have done if I wasn't a dancer? What would be my backup job? I don't know. I have an obsessive personality, so I could, I don't know. I could be a choreographer, which is obviously like me not performing is me teaching or making something. Maybe I could have been definite. I'll tell you what I couldn't have been. I couldn't have been a singer.
Right.
I don't think I could have been a doctor either. Although I could have been a
Oh, yeah.
physiotherapist.
Of course. Yeah. Right.
I could be a physiotherapist. Actually, that's something that I could, like, if I stop dancing and I can't choreograph anymore for whatever reason, I think that's probably one of the first things I
Right.
would do is
Just
do
one
that.
last question, Rukmini, before we sign off, is what have been your learnings from your career in cinema, and how has that influenced your Bharatanatyam?
I think that cinema has done, it's been such a small part of my life, you know, like I spent so many years doing Bharatanatyam, and cinema has been like tiny part, and I don't think that in terms of the stage it changes anything, but cinema has taught me a lot about patience,
Yeah.
you know, and because you wait and it takes a long time to put things together, and the director has to, you know, work so hard, um, and as well
Yeah.
as the entire team, and for
Yeah,
one thing to
absolutely.
go right, there are 30 people
Yeah.
working, right? And I think that that's something that as performers we can, like stage performers, it's
No.
something that we need to learn, because the whole team works. And in India, like sometimes there's nobody there working backstage.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody
Absolutely.
and there's nothing there. The light will go off, nobody cares, somebody does this, you know, and we have to understand that every job is equally
Yeah.
important. And every single job. It's not just the actor on the screen.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
actor
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just like one person.
Of
It's
course.
just like one. We just see the actor, we go, oh, the actor, but the actor is just like a tiny bit. He's just one part of
Right.
the whole equation. They're just ones that are put in front, but what goes behind is really, really big. And yeah, and I think it's also different because on stage and in performance, you have a continuity of emotion that you can rely on to, you know, just think. But on screen, every take you have to go
Yeah.
back, bring it back, like at the peak, on, you
Yeah.
know, on take. So it's very different in terms of harnessing your emotions. Um, you have to repeatedly do it, so it's different. And I think it teaches you also in Bharatanatyam, like as a stage performer, sometimes we can indulge ourselves in an emotion because it allows
Yeah.
us the flow, right? So it also helps us to say, hey, now
Yeah.
it's done, now
Right.
command it, you know.
Right.
So where, yeah, yeah, I think those are the two
Yeah.
things.
Thank you so much, Rukmini. It was truly a pleasure catching up with you. Thank you for making time for this chat. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and I'm so glad to
Yeah.
talk to you again. And I know she said, but Aalaap's been doing so many things
Thank you.
online.
Thank you,
It's been
Rukmini.
wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
And this session will be available for 24 hours. And there will also be an edited version that will be available on the Hindu Weekend page as well. Do stay tuned. They have some amazing chat sessions lined up. See you all soon. Thank you, Rukmini. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.